What are your plans for the off season and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose kind of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health.
What happens when a most famous athlete in an entire sport realizes she holds all the cards and decides to stop playing nice? The basketball world is holding its breath because a massive storm is brewing behind the scenes, and it threatens to completely upend the established order of women's sports. For months, fans watched as a generational talent was subjected to a rookie season filled with intense scrutiny, questionable officiating, and downright bizarre behavior from league veterans. She took the hits, smiled for the cameras, and answered every hostile press conference question with unbelievable grace, making it seem like she was perfectly fine being the sacrificial lamb for the league's growth. But behind closed doors, a very different narrative is taking shape, and it is far more ruthless than anyone anticipated. The current labor agreement governing the league is officially ticking down to an expiration date, and the 2026 season is looming on the horizon like a ticking time bomb waiting to detonate. Executives who thought they could easily control their new golden goose are suddenly waking up to a terrifying reality. The phenomenon who single-handedly injected millions of eyeballs and billions of dollars into a struggling business model is allegedly putting her foot down. Rumors are swirling that she and her trusted inner circle have drafted a list of absolute non-negotiable conditions for her to even consider stepping onto the hardwood when the new contract year rolls around. This isn't just about demanding a few extra dollars or asking for a slightly bigger locker room. It's about a complete and total dismantling of the old, broken system that has held the game back for decades. And what her camp is supposedly demanding next could change the landscape of professional athletics forever, leaving the old guard scrambling for answers. The truth is, the current financial structure of the league is practically an insult to the sheer volume of value being generated, and the 2026 season is the exact moment everything can be ripped up and rewritten from scratch. Recently, the players' union officially opted out of the collective bargaining agreement, meaning the entire financial playbook gets thrown out the window after next year, creating a massive vacuum of power for a player pulling in sold-out crowds in every single city, shattering television rating records every single night, and moving more merchandise than entire historic franchises combined on a base salary of around $76,000. That is nothing short of laughable. While she quietly secured an endorsement portfolio worth tens of millions of dollars from massive global brands like Nike and Gatorade, the league was aggressively cashing in on her name while paying her absolute pennies on the dollar. But the days of quietly accepting the status quo are completely over. Speculation is rampant that a strict condition for her continued participation in the league is a complete overhaul of the revenue-sharing model, moving away from the archaic systems of the past. The league recently secured a massive media rights deal worth over $2 billion, involving massive streaming giants and network television. And everyone knows that astronomical number is directly tied to her unprecedented drawing power. Whispers in the sports industry suggest her team expects a true 50-50 split of all league revenue, perfectly mirroring the highly lucrative models seen in the NBA and other major men's leagues. She knows exactly what her true worth is, and the mandate being pushed behind the scenes is incredibly clear. Either the players finally get a massive piece of the billion-dollar pie she baked, or the league risks losing its main attraction entirely. But the money, as staggering as it is, was only a fraction of the real issue brewing beneath the surface. Anyone who watched the games last season saw a disturbing, undeniable pattern of hyper-physical, borderline dangerous targeting that went largely unpunished by the officials tasked with protecting the players. Night after night, she was brutally shoved, elbowed away from the ball, and deliberately targeted by veterans who clearly harbored deep-seated resentment toward her sudden, explosive rise to global superstardom. It wasn't just tough basketball. It looked highly personal, and at times it bordered on a deliberate attempt to cause career-ruining trauma. Before her professional journey even truly began, one particularly infamous blindside hit early in the season sent shockwave through the sports world, leaving millions of fans and high-profile analysts screaming for the league office to step in and protect their premier financial asset. Instead of taking swift action, the official response was incredibly muted, with executives seemingly terrified of offending the older generation of players who felt they owned the court. Now, well-placed insiders are hinting that one of her most rigid conditions for the 2026 season involve a complete top-to-bottom overhaul of how games are officiated and how malicious on-court behavior is strictly penalized. There are intense rumors of demands for zero-tolerance enforcement of flagrant fouls, massive financial fines for targeted headhunting, and a total cultural shift regarding players' safety protocols. She isn't asking for a softer game or special treatment, but she is allegedly demanding an absolute end to the sanctioned bullying that masqueraded as competitive spirit for an entire summer. If the league wants to continue marketing her face to millions of young, impressionable fans globally, they have to ensure she isn't leaving the arena covered in deep bruises while the referees deliberately look the other way to appease angry veterans. Yet the severe dangers she faced weren't just confined to the painted lines of the basketball court. The amateur-level logistics of the league's travel and security protocols were completely exposed during her highly publicized rookie campaign, and a repeat performance is reportedly completely off the table moving forward. Early in the season, frightening footage surfaced across social media, showing her and her unsuspecting teammates being aggressively mobbed by unpredictable screaming crowds in public airport terminals. The terrifying lack of professional, organized security details highlighted a glaring, massive flaw in how the league handled its sudden, explosive, newfound fame. While the organization panicked and scrambled to implement a chaotic and piecemeal charter flight program midway through the year to save face, it was widely viewed as a reactive Band-Aid rather than a permanent, well-thought-out solution. The murmurs leaking from her highly protected inner circle suggest that for the 2026 season, guaranteed top-tier private travel and elite, armed security forces are absolute prerequisites just to get her on the plane. This heavily implies no more commercial flights under any circumstances. No more walking through public baggage claims surrounded by potential stalkers with cell phones. And no more half measures when it comes to the physical safety of the players. Her presence alone turns any ordinary, quiet building into a massive, unpredictable security risk. And she absolutely refuses to put herself or her teammates in harm's way simply because the league executives want to cut logistical costs and save a few bucks. The strict expectation being laid out is that the league must immediately begin operating with the exact same logistical professionalism and massive budget as the highest-grossing sports leagues in the entire world. If they genuinely can't afford to protect their star players properly, then they have absolutely no business pretending to be a premier, top-tier professional organization on the global stage. And if the suits in the front office think they can simply call her bluff and force her to comply, they're completely ignoring a massive, highly lucrative threat looming right in their blind spot. She holds the ultimate trump card in these tense negotiations because, frankly, she does not actually need this specific league to maintain her immense fame, her cultural relevance, or her massive fortune. An entirely new, highly funded landscape of alternative basketball leagues is quietly rising in the background, perfectly designed to capitalize on star players who are completely exhausted by the traditional restrictive rules that a newly formed 3-on-3 league, heavily backed by major billionaire investors and former players, is already making aggressive moves, offering enormous, unprecedented contracts to top-tier talent. They are allegedly promising exceptionally high salaries for just a few weeks of work, massive media exposure, and most importantly, an actual ownership equity stake in the company itself, something the traditional league flat-out refuses to offer. Alongside this massive domestic threat, immense international basketball clubs located overseas with incredibly deep, virtually bottomless pockets are always waiting in the wings, eager to throw millions of tax-free dollars at a generational star just to have her wear their jersey for a single season. The terrifying reality keeping the front office awake at night is that she could simply choose to walk away in 2026, officially join an independent barnstorming tour, or play in a rival startup league, and her millions of fiercely loyal fans would absolutely follow her without a second of hesitation. The massive television networks currently paying billions of dollars for the broadcast rights aren't paying that money to watch the league's logo bounce around the screen. They're paying exclusively to watch her shoot from the logo. Her highly calculated management team is acutely aware of this unbelievable leverage. By strategically floating the very real possibility of sitting out the 2026 season if her sweeping conditions aren't met, she places unimaginable, crushing pressure on the commissioners to capitulate to her demands. They know, without a shadow of a doubt, that a season without their biggest, most profitable draw would instantly result in plummeting television ratings, half-empty arenas across the country, and furious television executives aggressively demanding their billions of dollars back. But despite this overwhelming, unprecedented level of player power, not everyone in the intricate basketball ecosystem is ready to blindly bow to the new queen. A fierce, deeply entrenched, and incredibly toxic pushback from the league's old guard is severely complicating these already delicate negotiations, creating a deeply fractured, hostile environment behind the scenes. For long, grueling years, veteran players toiled in relative obscurity, playing for meager, borderline insulting salaries and receiving very little public recognition, slowly building the hard foundation of the league brick by brick. Now, a 22-year-old rookie has arrived and is essentially dictating the future financial and structural terms of their employment. And the bitter resentment is practically palpable in every single interview. Many battle-tested veterans feel deeply disrespected and marginalized by the overwhelmingly popular narrative that she alone is solely responsible for the current financial boom, thus leading to massive friction both inside the locker rooms and during tense, closed-door union meetings. There are intense, credible whispers that older, highly influential voices within the Players Association are actively resisting her rumored high-level demands, viewing them as arrogant, selfish, or moving. Entirely too fast for the league to handle. The old guard desperately wants the upcoming collective bargaining negotiations to focus on broad equity, ensuring the lowest paid players get a slight bump, while her camp allegedly wants massive structural changes that primarily benefit the top-tier superstars who actually drive the massive revenue spikes. This brewing internal civil war places the league executives in a nearly impossible, no-win position as the clock ticks down. Now, if they immediately bow to her demands and reshape the league in her image, they risk sparking a massive mutiny from the seasoned veterans who still hold deep institutional power and influence over the media. But if they foolishly choose to side with the old guard's conservative approach and refuse to rapidly modernize the league's archaic rules and financial structures, they risk completely alienating the one singular player capable of keeping the arena lights on and the sponsors happy. It is a terrifying high-wire act of fragile egos, unimaginable sums of money, and raw power. And the mounting tension is actively threatening to tear the entire organization apart at the seams before the new season even has a chance to begin. And adding fuel to this already raging fire is the total shift in organizational power and team control that has rapidly taken place over the last few months, completely changing the dynamic of her franchise. Just weeks after she led her team to their first playoff appearance in years, shattering every single offensive record along the way, the front office unceremoniously fired the head coach, sending a massive shockwave through the coaching community. It became instantly clear to everyone paying attention that the sudden dismissal wasn't just about X's and O's or defensive rotations. It was a calculated power move designed to appease their superstar and bring in someone she specifically wanted to play for. The quick hiring of a